Today on Clubhouse Gas, we're joined again by friend of the show and sports psychologist Crissy Rapp. We're going to talk about high-performance players, that player in the league or on your team who's just a little bit better than everybody else. We're talking about the characteristics that those players share and how to coach them, how to get the most out of them, and how to relate to them on your team. It's going to be a great show, so stay tuned to Clubhouse Gas. Fortunate enough to be joined again by friend of the show, Crissy Rapp. Crissy, thank you so much.
Thanks.
I want to continue expanding on this child player psychology stuff we've been talking about.
Right.
Kind of giving coaches and parents an insight into their kids and how they can help them more enjoy and be more productive in their sporting ventures. And today I want to talk about the higher achieving players, the players who everybody knows when they walk on the field. That kid's a stud, that kid's got a lot of talent,
right.
And that goes all the way up into the pros. Even there, guys walk on the court and you see LeBron James as opposed to the other 9 guys and you go, yeah, he's the one. Those players, for me as a coach, it's always seemed difficult to coach them. You know, for me, what separates the great coaches, the Hall of Fame coaches from just good coaches, are the ability to coach fantastic ball players.
Right.
It's hard sometimes, and I think a lot of it has to do with attitude, but also players who compete at a high level a lot of times don't even know how they do what they do. They just do it naturally.
Very
so then
true.
when you start breaking it down, it gets kind of touchy for them, and
right.
then they kind of get out of their element. For you, from a psychology point of view, how do you deal with these players?
I think the first thing to do is just let them know that they can always improve. You know, they can always find something to work on within their own game. Even if they've been successful, they might not even be pushing themselves as hard as they can. They might be that athlete that's giving you 95% and he's beating everybody, but at the same time, there's going to be another level for him. And that's something to keep in mind too, him or her, is that there are other athletes that you might not have come across yet, but they're going to be right there with you, if not further ahead. So you need to keep pressing and keep trying to improve.
Is there a battle of control between the player and the coach? Does the player, do you get the know-it-all player and the coach who just wants the respect and wants you to listen? Is that a kind of a formula that has to be worked out?
Again, there's going to be some variation, but I think one big thing that comes to mind is that those higher achievers always have a high sense of control in their own actions. So they're not really going to make excuses. If they make an error, that's fine. They're going to make the error, but at the same time, they bounce back quick and they have that sense of control and they will take responsibility. So that's one thing that the coach has to realize, that you don't have to push them in that regard, because they're responsible and they're aware of what they do well and what they don't. And the good thing is that you're not going to get a lot of excuses from them, but it's been shown that high achievers have a high sense of control.
Right. And those are players that you maybe want to put into a leadership role? Or
right.
Are they going to just automatically take that role?
It depends. You might have the leader who leads by example, and he's out there busting his butt every day, and he's a great athlete. You might have the great athlete who you wouldn't want so much to be a leader. You just want him to focus on himself and do his role. But if he's not coachable and that kind of thing, then maybe you wouldn't want to project that onto him. Maybe he would realize that he wants it, and then let him walk into that position and kind of improve a little bit. I
just can't keep thinking. All that pops into my head is practice. I just keep thinking about Allen Iverson.
Allen Iverson.
Practice, man. We're talking about practice.
Yeah.
Yeah, really. You need to go.
Yep, you need to go. Yep.
Talk about self-comparison versus social comparison.
High achievers, again, it's been shown that they don't really compare themselves to what other people around them are doing. They focus on themselves. It's the person that if they get up and they get a bloop single that just falls in, it's not a great hit, they're going to be okay with that, but at the same time they know they can do better. Whereas somebody who is only concerned about getting that base hit, they're extremely happy with that, and they'd rather get 3 of those than 3 solid at-bats where they're really driving the ball. An athlete that comes to mind is Tiger Woods. You hear in all of his interviews, he never talks about other people. He talks about himself and his game. If the interviewer tries to get him to, he's very good about keeping it positive and focusing on himself and what he needs to do and what he did well, and he's just kind of in this bubble where he knows what he's capable of, he knows where he needs to be, and everything else, he can't control it. So he's just worried about his game, and that's an athlete that I use as an example with athletes, with my young guys a lot, is to just try to take on that mentality. And it's hard to do, but it really does help.
The one thing that comes to mind for me, we interviewed Jeff Francoeur about a month ago, and it was Francoeur and Brian McCann. They were sitting right next to each other, and there was a question about playing too much as a kid. And they had two completely, totally opposite answers. And they played together as kids on the same team. Where Francoeur said, I played too much, I got burned out, I quit. Quit for an entire year, played golf. And McCann said, couldn't play enough, wanted to play more. And I just thought, wow, how big are, that's, you want to put pressure on a parent.
Yeah.
Yeah, these two guys who were buddies, best friends, grew up together, played on the same team just as much as each other. And one of them burns out and quits, and the other one wants to play more. And then they both end up on the same Major League Baseball team.
Right. Two different examples. I say the big message there is know your kid. Know your kid, and you don't want them to just one day say, I'm done, it's too much, with no warning. I've had that before, where a parent comes to me and said, I had no idea, and he just quit, he hates it, what can I do? I said, well, I don't know if there's anything right now. You know, looking back, there were signs and things that we could have maybe intervened to build the enjoyment back up, but it's just knowing that kid and when they're getting to that point of still enjoying it and not enjoying it.
Well, Crissy, thank you so much. We really appreciate it. Hope you come back and join us again, as well as you. That's going to do it for us today. We'll see you right back here next time for another great edition of Clubhouse Gas.